morning. Welcome back to Us Anyway with Ashley. Outfit number 2. You know, as I change my outfits, I do that thing that Dumbledore does in the last Harry Potter, where he was like, a change of decorations is in order, and I am like, a change of wardrobe is in order. Anyway, good morning. I just started feeling a little bit sick. Shut up, YouTube. These commercials are like a little sibling. Okay. Anyway, we're gonna talk. This is a collective combo, and we're gonna talk about the dangers of keeping certain people in our lives in midst of a civil war. Yay! Okay. You know what's really funny is that I knew this Black Panther. Well, I still know him. This Black Panther, like an OG Black Panther, in Frisco, in San Francisco. He was friends with Baby Daddy, and back in, I don't know what, like 2016, I was the designated driver for all these motherfuckers. But there's this one guy, I'm gonna leave his name out, but he always used to say police, instead of police. So he really emphasized the ice part of police, and this is obviously before what we are experiencing, but I'm just sitting here looking at my beanie, and it's very, I don't know why the P is so invisible, but anyway, I would not recommend being a DD for OGs. It's not fun. I had to cuss those motherfuckers out. Sit the fuck down! Anyway. Alright, okay. We are in Civil War. Alright. Past Ashley cut these really immensely, and I'm kind of disappointed in her, because it was, like, really excessive. But anyway, we are in a Civil War, and we need to think about the people around us. Now, for me, I am in a very Republican town. There are more, and I think this last election there were a lot more yard signs of like Democrats, like Harris and Waltz and shit. But whoa, is that 4? I'm watching Legally Blonde. Well, I'm not watching it. It's just on. I have a crush on Luke Wilson. Anyway. Ooh. I think, so one of the things for me, I let my mother go last year, because it became abundantly clear for me, I mean, lots of reasons, if you're on my channel, you know this, but one of them was political. My mother is not a conservative by any means, she's not a Trumper by any means, but she is very status quo, very, she's very indoctrinated within the criminal justice system. I mean, she loves, like, she spends her free time watching, like, NCIS and Law and Order and shit, right? So, she's very rigid in that this is right and this is wrong, right? Like, there's no gray area, there's no circumstance, there's just... And I think that my sister, and her husband, I know her husband's a racist piece of shit, but, I'm pretty sure that they're Trumpers, and... my mother religiously would always talk about me to my family, the family that I had no contact with, and I was like, I need you to stop doing that. Like, my life is not soap opera. Like, I'm a real person living this life, and I don't want, if I wanted people to know the things about me, I would share that with them. I'm not sharing that with you to, you know, make your rounds and play telephone, right? And that was a conversation my mother and I had for years. Is that a cat? But I finally was like, I mean, again, there were other reasons that made the no contact very easy for me, but this is one of the things that informed that decision was my lack of faith in her ability to keep her mouth shut about my life. And my family has always been my karmic energy. They've always tried to control me in lots of ways. You guys know this if you've been here. They've, my sister, because I think my dad, when I lost my dad, I think my sister tried to step into this like mother role for me, even though my mother was still around. And so it really just ended up becoming this like triangulation against me. Where like we know better. Like, let me give you an example of this. I had this necklace that had my dad's ashes in it. And when I flipped my blazer when I was 16, I lost it. I don't know, it happened. My shit was all over the street because I like landed upside down. But I lost that necklace, and when I graduated college, like my bachelor's finally, I had to withdraw and was incarcerated for a year, and then I went back and I was like, I'm gonna finish my degree. Like, I'm not. So when I finally finished my degree, as a graduation present, she was like, I'm gonna replace that necklace. We had gotten a couple statues with my dad's ashes in them. And like one was at the cottage, his side of the family's cottage. My aunt and uncle own it. And so she had talked to my aunt, who also doesn't like my sister. But I don't talk to that aunt anymore either. But my aunt had given her this statue to use the ashes to replace this necklace, right? It was a beautiful gesture. However, at that point in my life, I was wearing gold, not silver, and my initial necklace was silver. And this chick, my sister, was like, that's just a phase. And so she gave it to me in silver, even though I said I want it in gold. And then when my grandmother died a few years ago, she died, I think 2018 she died. She lived to be 100, and then she was like, peace, I'm out. And and she like left all of these things. My grandma did a great job. This is my dad's mom. She did a great job of giving her descendants things of hers. The past 20 years or so, she's been giving people things of hers because, instead of putting it in her will, she would have a conversation with you and she'd be like, I want you to have this, and this is why, and this is, and it was really sweet, and it was a great way. But one of the things that, so she received a necklace, the teardrop necklace, and we got her a gold one, and it was on this table. When we were all like going through the random things that she had left behind, like jewelry and other things, my aunt had put it out, as like keepsakes of like whoever wants these things. And I saw the gold teardrop, and my mom was across the table, and I picked it up and I looked at my mom, and my mom was like, because she knew the drama with my sister. Come on out. Gotta keep the door closed. So anyway, that's just an example of the ways that my family tried to keep like weird control over me. Like, no, that's just a phase. Like, bitch, I actually was switching over, So it's whatever. Sometimes people are limited in your abilities. So all of those examples are just examples of, now in the times of civil war, it's important that we recognize these sort of relational conflicts as something a little bit deeper, because there is a lot of danger involved in the way that this society is going to be going. So if you're someone like me, I'm an oversharer, obviously. I didn't need to tell you guys that story. But if you're an oversharer, I would retract what you share with people, especially if they're new in your life. And I would pay attention to the red flags that come up. I saw a situation this morning, one of the people I follow on TikTok, he was like, I just threw away a 3-year relationship because, and he shared this conversation that he was having with his friend, and she was like, I saw a bunch of Latinos working on my neighbor's house, and she was talking about, his name is Mario, I don't know if you guys follow him on TikTok too, but she was talking about how she called ICE on her neighbor's work people, and he was like, I'm Latino, and she was like, no, you're different, and it reminded me of my family, and so he was like, I'm not going to argue with stupid people, I'm not going to have these conversations with you, you know what's morally right and wrong, and if you don't, then you're not going to be in my life, right? Why do you need this? What does this mean? Okay, can you give me a minute? I just got a paper towel. What do you need a paper? You want a hot dog? Hot dog? Can you give me a minute? I'm in the middle of a video. I love you. I'm glad that you've gotten your energy under control. That's good. still interrupting though. Anyway, so at this point in time, I think it's important to kind of vet the people around you, and understand who is a threat and who isn't. A couple weeks ago, I thought I made a new friend, but he immediately told me he was MACA, and I blocked him that day. I was like, okay, well, that's good. Thanks for letting me know. And so I think we need to be real honest about the actual danger that these people have, the inability to think for themselves around other people, the drive of control and coercion that they get, like they get off on that, right? And so I think it's really important for us to cut those people out of our lives. I've known that war was going to be coming, and again with my mother, I was trying to talk to her about Palestine. I was trying to tell her the things that were happening, and she didn't want to know. And I'm like, this is dangerous. Like, at this point, this is dangerous for me to even be having these conversations with you, as someone who would rather hold on to their own privilege and ignorance than understand what's happening in the world. And I mean, that's from the get-go. That's why my family did what they did to me, putting me in the mental institution and whatnot. Again, it was because I had more consciousness, I had more information about the world than they did, and they were like, you're crazy. So be careful, be very careful with who you tell things to, what people know about you. Now, I'm someone in this moment, I am kind of doing the opposite of my own advice, because I'm meant to be seen in this time, which is pretty terrifying, but I'm also someone who has a martyr spirit. So, if I'm gonna die for a cause, I'm gonna die for a cause. I'm tired of this earth. It's such a shit show, right? I'm not suicidal by any means, but if I'm killed for this cause, at least my consciousness will be intact, right? And I think that's a point that we're at. I mean, when we're facing this much death, destruction, incarceration, I mean, over 1,200 people went missing from Alligator Alcatraz, okay? And then there was another person who was doing, like, infrared monitoring using some sort of map system. And there were, before that, there were incinerators. So let's put all three of those facts together. There were incinerators put on Alligator Alcatraz. The heat that was being picked up from Alligator Alcatraz was overwhelming. It was showing that there were incinerators being run for hours on end, and then there were missing people. But what the mainstream media says is, if they even cover it, which at this point I don't think they do, everything's been bought and sold, right? Everything's been bought and sold. So if you are someone who is not allowing your consciousness or your soul to be bought up by these systems, if you're not participating in the atrocities, then at this point in time you are, you're going to be labeled a terrorist. And if you have a problem with that, go watch V for Vendetta, because you're on the right side of history. What these motherfuckers say doesn't really matter, but the people around you do hold more power than they used to, in order, in the way of, like, narc, right? Like, stitches get snitches, or no, snitches get stitches kind of shit, right? People are using those ICE numbers. People are calling local law enforcement. I mean, Karens are gonna Karen, okay? But that Karen, that group of Karens is growing, and it's growing beyond race. It's growing, okay? People want to, I don't know. It's just an interesting time. So be careful about that, and don't let it put you in a state of fear or paralysis, but just be aware of the ways in which people are being rewarded for outing people. Be aware of the people around you, if they are in law enforcement or in some sort of other judicial justice department. I just saw another TikTok this morning talking about how the FBI has been taken off of pretty much all of the cases around anything that isn't ICE, and they're being used to support ICE. So that's interesting. But, those people who work for the FBI have families, and those families have friends, and those friends have connections, and they're part of congregations, and they're wives are teachers and other things like that. So pay attention to who's around you, and kind of make a map of the social networks going on and place boundaries where necessary, for your own safety. Okay, and this is not about race. It's about groupthink. It's about cult-like behavior. It's about we've reached this point. Super fun. But the Civil War officially started when Texas, like 2 days ago, when Texas National Guard went to Illinois against Illinois' wishes. And now Trump is also calling on the arrest of the mayor and governor of Chicago and Illinois. So the rapid pace in which this is happening, for those of us who are paying some sort of attention, is crazy, right? But again, there's going to be people who are, they're like pick-me's. It's like a pick-me cult, right? Like, I'm getting that image of at Charlie Kirk's funeral when Erica Kirk was like holding on to Trump, like hugging him, and Trump was like, "Get off of me." It's a pick-me. They want to be seen in his good graces for some ungodly known reason. Trump is an idiot. All right, I'm gonna leave you on that. Fuck the police. Fuck ICE. Fuck everything that is not for human rights. Okay, bye.